Hi, I'm Joe Jacobson at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome along to episode 2, season 3. If you've listened to previous seasons, you'll know that after a while I only count for the initial ones and then sort of either lose count or just think, well, we're getting well into the season now. It seems silly going, this is welcome to episode 33 or something. But we've had the first game of the season, a fantastic 3-0 victory at home to Burton Albion. We'll be reflecting on that with our match commentator. Brilliant to give you the commentary as well as on Wanderers TV, but here on Wycombe Sound on Saturday as well from 3 o'clock. Although in terms of goals, it was all over in the first half an hour, which is very unusual, isn't it, for a Wycombe fan. Normally you have to wait a while for the goals, usually after about 90 minutes or more. But we'll hear from David Wheeler as well, who of course opened the scoring on Saturday at Adams Park. We'll also, as I say, chat to Phil as well and find out his assessment of how the team did on that opening day and look ahead to the trip to Bolton and what else that involves this coming Saturday as well. With big thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, we'll hear from Martin Priestley, who was a defender at the club, started in 1959, and then by 1966 he'd become Wycombe Wanderers' first ever substitute. That might be a quiz question that might come up in a pub quiz, so we're worth hanging on to that stat. We'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth as well, and we'll catch up with Wycombe Wanderers women's boss Carl Simon once again, who we've been speaking to this week ahead of the Lionesses' success at Wembley, of course, on Sunday. But first, here are some highlights from Saturday's game.
Adams Park awaits here the first game of the season, Wycombe Wanderers versus Burton Albion, live on Wanderers TV and Wycombe Sound 106.6 with me, Phil Catchpole, making his commentary debut. A man who looked comfortable on the pitch last season, will he be comfortable in the press box? Let's find out this afternoon. Good afternoon, Chris Farina. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good afternoon, Phil. Feeling good. I'm excited for the opening day of the season. Comfortability-wise, probably about a 2 out of 10. I'm a bit nervous sat here, then I'll be out there.
But Wycombe now get the ball down, and here's Mehmeti on the left-hand side. Folks is with him. Mehmeti now, dancing away now. On the left, goes past his man, stays on his feet, and then it's hauled down. Gavin Ward. Surely that's a penalty.
It's got to be a penalty.
Gavin Ward shakes his head. Gareth Ainsworth is on his feet as ever. He's on the air, arms outstretched. Gavin Ward had a completely clear line of sight there, Chris. He pulled him down, didn't he?
It's got to be a penalty. Anes with some great trickery there, pushing it past his man, showing some great strength, and he's kind of scrambling across the floor, and I think taking Anes' left foot out there.
Well, he beat him 3 times in that move, and the third time, Oshilaja, he was on the deck and you saw the arm go up there, Chris. As a centre-back, you'd have known what you'd have been thinking then.
Definitely, I think he realised he was in trouble and I think it was his head, shoulder and arm pulling Anis' ankle there. I think that's definitely a penalty, yeah.
Well, an early test for the referee. 1 minute on the clock here, and already the big shout for a controversial decision into this new season. McCleary now into Scowen. Scowen low, he releases Wheeler. Wheeler's saw and goal, and scored! Yes! David Wheeler! He drives his imaginary car to the corner flag. It's the first goal of the season at Adams Park. It's the first goal of 22-23, and it's a Swiss Army penknife. David Wheeler cutting in on the right-hand side and poking it past the keeper. Wycombe Wanderers 1, Burton Albion 0.
That is a great move. I think it was Josh going there with the pass, the reverse pass, unlocking the defence, and Wills gambling in nicely there.
And now Horgan really making it.
Amazing pressing again.
Horgan, little 1-2 with Gape. Horgan right wing, stands up the cross to Vokes, he's pushed over.
It's got to be a pen.
Brayford was behind Vokes. Vokes felt the touch on his back and went down. Referee Gavin Ward again, well placed. Again, very quick to say no penalty. But Mehmeti now, left wing, cuts it between 2. Still going Mehmeti. Still going Mehmeti. Still going.
What a goal!
Alice Mehmeti. They said this could be in this season. What a way to start it. He beat 3 players. They tried to put him down and he stayed on his feet. He looked at the keeper and said, which way do you reckon, mate? It didn't matter. He put it in the bottom corner. Wycombe 2, Burton Albion 0. Alice Mehmeti take him out.
Amazing feat again from Mehmeti there. As I said, can go either way, and what a finish into the left corner there. Off his left foot. Going across the keeper, he stood no chance.
Just coming up to 30 minutes played as Mehmeti hangs in across to the back post. Folks, drops down to Scowen.
Great strike!
Oh my word, what a goal by Josh Scowen. Opening day of the season, and we've got a goal of the season contended already. The ball was headed clear, and Josh Scowen on the half volley from just outside the D picks out the top corner. Gareth didn't move a muscle. Wycombe Wanderers 3, Burton Albion 0.
That's right. On the half volley, it's not an easy technique, but he's actually almost intercepted the drop ball there between the Burton player and managed to find what looked like the top corner on the half volley.
And the referee Gavin Ward blows his full-time whistle here at Adams Park. 3 first-half goals from the Chair boys from Wheeler, Mametti and Scowen was enough for Wycombe Wanderers to seal an opening day victory here.
Great to hear those goals again, and I'm very pleased to say we can speak to the club's head of audio and broadcast and host of Ringing the Blues.
Hey Colin, it's good to hear some of the commentary back there. I never remember what I say at the time, but yeah, it's nice to hear it back.
You must have been so pleased with how it went. Obviously, your first appearance back on Wycombe Sound as well. For people that don't know, you were co-host of Drive Time and did a lot of stuff on the station previously, but also that it was such a great game as well.
Yeah, wonderful game. Great afternoon at Adams Park, and a perfect game to kickstart commentaries back on Wycombe Sound as well. 3 goals within 30 minutes. A summariser making his debut, Chris Farina, who I thought was fantastic. He'd never done it before. He was really nervous, he told me at half time, but he wouldn't have known that listening to him. Great insight, real passion as well. So it's great to get Chris on there and allow fans to get to know Chris a bit more as well. Obviously, we hope he's back out on the pitch really soon, though. But brilliant game to cover. And, Burton, people were saying they weren't very, disappointing, didn't offer much. But I think mainly because Wycombe was so intense with their press, and I think they shut Burton down. So I think it was a really good performance from Wycombe Wanderers. And I think we'll find out more going about this season now when we go to Bolton. But I spoke to Gareth after the game, and he was full of praise for the team.
Credit my sports science team and Dave Waits and Kian, O'Doherty, Ali Volgazang, Isaac Leckie, Ben Sayers, all that group there. I want to name check them because they all do a fantastic job, and they've got the boys in top condition. I asked for a quick start. They had the energy, they had the physical capability to get into a team that we thought might have 1 or 2 new players trying to gel together, and we won't let that happen. We would steamroll them, right at the start. But it doesn't happen every week. I'm lucky that we got away with that. But some really good individual performances there, and like I say, the game was in our control first half. Burton, we knew they'd come at us second half. Took a few more risks, but the damage had been done, and the boys know how to see a game out. Everyone talking about we haven't made signings yet. I made a lot last year, and those players, Anis Mehmeti, Gareth McCleary, Lewis Wing, Sam Vokes, great signings last season for this season. Just because I do it at a different time, there's still good signings. But 1 or 2 more. Obviously, Brandon might have picked up a knock there. We didn't get our goalkeeper across the line, as we all said. Put 2 and 2 together, you probably will get 4 on who that is. But Tyler Dickinson I thought was outstanding as well, for such a young boy to come in. I made the decision yesterday to go with Tyler because I didn't want to panic not getting R1 over the line, and that happens sometimes in the loan market. But there was no panic. There was never a worry thinking, oh my God, what we're going to do. It was, okay, Tyler will step up. I'm pleased with where Tyler is at the moment, pre-season wise. I'm pleased with his temperament, his tactical management of the game and his positioning. He's not the 6'4" Stockhole that we had, but he has these other attributes, and I'm pleased for him. He had a fantastic debut, but credit everyone for protecting him and a good start. But that's all it is, there's no getting carried away. We know what it takes to achieve in this league, and we're going to have to be on it week in, week out, and hopefully we can get the right results.
3-0 at half time, obviously a long way to go in the game, but was the message to protect that clean sheet?
Not really. I mean, we wanted to add to it. We did want to add to it in front of the terrace there. It would have been great, and we had some chances. But Burton definitely had some chances second half. Jimmy's a good guy, good manager, and he's going to get them firing without a doubt. So it was nice to get one over on them. But like I say, it's about the boys today. They were fabulous. They really were. They deserve all the credit, and my staff. They've done brilliant. We had a plan. We put the plan in place, and it works. But they have to execute the plan. I can only give them a framework. They were brilliant today, and I think it's a real nice marker to set right, a barometer, if you will, of yes, we're fit, yes, we understand tactics, but we're going to have to do that week in, week out. Some big sides in this league and some crazy results today. But and on top of it all, I'd like to dedicate the win to Carl Sargent, who I lost in the summer. Real close friend, and he would have loved that one. You know, he was QPR fan, but became a Wycombe fan because I was here, and it was nice that everyone did a round of applause on the minutes that on the minute that he got on the screen there. It was just like the opposition to probably score in that minute. Carl would have loved that, but it's some things are in perspective, and that was big for me today. So rest in peace, Carl, and prayers to his family. But the boys delivered for me today, and I was really proud of them, and I'm proud of them all the time. But the likes of Damani getting some minutes, Tyler getting his debut, Nick Freeman coming back after a year of what he's been through. I spoke to Rob Curry just before the game, and he came to me and said, I'm really glad you're giving Tyler a chance. And that's what we do. Farino, Mehmetis, the list is endless of who's come through here, these young boys. But also we've got this quality and these experienced boys that never let me down. One game doesn't make a season, but it's a nice start, and I'm really pleased.
Also really nice as well, we spoke to Matt earlier in the week as well. Each of the goal scorers had a sort of different story as well. Brilliant that David Wheeler has got on the score sheet, especially so early in the game as well.
Yeah, and also, the Swiss Army penknife, I think Gareth calls him. I've also found out that his teammates call him the James Milner of Wycombe Wanderers. I'm not sure how he feels about that, but he's a really dependable guy, and he said that afterwards that he would happily play anywhere for the team or do anything. And to play right back, I think a lot of people were a bit concerned, thinking, well, he's not a specialist right back. But 7 minutes in, and the number 7 pops up after a lovely pass from Josh Cohen with a great finish. But it was a really good performance from David Wheeler, really sort of mature. He's an experienced professional now, and I think he understood that role of right back. He said that Jack Grimmer had to coach him a bit through it in terms of his positioning, but he's got a great engine. He gets up and down, and when you play fullback for Gareth Ainsworth, you've got to defend, but you've got to offer something else as well in the final third. And I spoke to David Wheeler after the game, after he got his breath back, because he covered some miles in that game.
It's interesting, isn't it, going back to right back and then score in the first game. Obviously really chuffed and enjoyed the celebration. And it was first half, we were like a bullet out of a gun. We were, everyone was at it, everyone was on form and playing well. And I think in the first half it was pretty quite hard to pick out, a standout player, because I think everyone was really on it. And then the second half was just a professional performance, just like seeing the game out, I think.
You've been described as the Swiss Army penknife of Wycombe Wanderers. I think Chris Farino said they call you the James Milner of Wycombe Wanderers. Right back, right wing back, right back, midfield, up front, does it matter?
Nah, just as long as I'm out there, really. I'm just happy to be out there. Obviously I want to be starting as all players do. So the fact that I can do that sometimes goes in my favour, and just happy to be involved in part of winning game.
Part of the back four, but for the goal, you were very well forward.
Yeah, it was I was sort of getting reined in by Jack a little bit at times. I was wanting to go forward, and he was just telling me to steady, and especially after my goal I was getting carried away. But I know I've got G-Mac in front of me, so if I can I'll leave him to it, but I'll just back him up and support him if I need to.
A clean sheet as well on the first day at home in front of the fans, and also for Tyler Dickinson, first senior appearance. A great day all round.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is sometimes what you need as a young player, is for things to fall in your favour, and you get your chance, and it's whether you take it or not. And I think he did. I don't think you could have asked any more of him. You see that with his man of the match performance, clean sheet, barely put a foot wrong. So he's done really well. He's done himself no harm.
And Damani Mellor as well, making his debut for Wycombe Wanderers. Do you remember when you made your first senior appearance?
Yeah, it was. I remember it being very hot, and I remember hanging on for about an hour because it was so hot. But I think it was against Bristol Rovers and we won. So, yeah.
These are special days for players.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it was very, very nerve-wracking, very different, going from 300 people to 5,000. But yeah, that's what it's about. It's about adapting and getting used to it, and it's exciting.
And I love a player with the trademark celebration. Explain to our new fans what the celebration is.
I've got to give credit to Anthony Stewart, because he said, we've got he's like, can we do anything about the wheels? Can we do steering wheel or something? And that's what it comes from, basically. So I think I might have done it the first time in the playoffs when we got promoted a few years ago, at Fleetwood. So yeah, that's what it comes from, really, Anthony Stewart.
And also as well, and it's great to see him. I've heard so many fans say, we'll probably see him in the Premier League in the not too distant future.
Yeah, Anis Mehmeti is
a lot of people, me included, have been saying this is his season. And I think Chris Farina made a really good point in the commentary, because he said actually his last couple of seasons have been really good as well. He did well in the Championship. He got 4 goals, I think, in the Championship. He had a good season last year, and I think his injury came at a really crucial time of the season in the running, and which meant we lost him for those vital games at the end of the playoffs. And it's one of those who knows moments, isn't it? Had Anis been fit, would the result have been different at Wembley? We'll never know. But what we do know is that he is incredibly focused and on having a great season for Wycombe Wanderers. I think he's really bulked up a bit as well, because you've got to remember he's still a young lad, so he's still had some growing to do. But his upper body strength is really there now as well. And we saw that with his goal, because I think Burton players, once they realised they weren't able to tackle him fairly, they were trying to sort of almost rugby tackle him down to stop him getting him in the box. And he sort of brushed all that off. But he's kept the finesse and the touch and the skills as well. And that's getting better and better. And I think, we all know about his ability, but his drive, his determination, I think is what will get him to the top flight. And the great thing about it is, Colin, that he's a Wycombe Wanderers player. We've developed players in the past, your Alfie Mawson, your Eberici Eze's. We've seen them go on and play at the top table of football, and they did it as loanees, so we can take a bit of reflective pride in that. But Anis is one of our own, so we want him to do really, really well this season, and maybe he may attract a big money move at the end of the season or whenever it happens. But for that to happen, it means he's going to have to play really, really well for Wycombe Wanderers. So let's enjoy him this season, because I think he's going to have a great time of it. And that goal was the perfect start for him.
No, really exciting future for Anis, and I look forward to seeing him, more of him in a Wycombe shirt. And I guess for anyone who perhaps either wasn't at the game or didn't hear the commentary, they might certainly have seen a video clip of Josh's goal.
Yeah, well, again, Chris, the insight on the commentary was saying that the lads always remind Josh he scores 1 goal a season. Well, he's got it already. And I think I said at the time it was a goal of the season contender. Beautiful technique on the half volley just outside the penalty area. Keeper, I don't think he moved, didn't see it. It was a fantastic strike. And he had a really good chance as well later on in the game, Josh, as well. So he nearly doubled his tally from last season. But yeah, he only seems to score world-class goals now in his second spell at Wycombe Wanderers. He's got the rest of the season to maybe add to his tally. We'll hope to see him do that. But he brings so much to this team. The goal was great, but what he does in midfield is superb. And we shouldn't ignore the assist as well for the David Wheeler goal, because the pass beautifully round the corner, the vision, the weight of it, absolute perfection. So we're seeing a lot more of Josh Scowen now. We know what he can do in terms of breaking teams down and the coverage and the tackling, but with the ball, I think a really underrated player, especially by our opposition and Sunderland fans as well. When he was up there, they didn't really appreciate him, I don't think, as a footballer. But I think in this second spell at Wycombe Wanderers, he's late 20s now. He's probably in his peak, in his prime, and we can really enjoy watching Josh now in the quarters as well.
Did it really feel in a way like the team are just continuing where they left off last season?
There is an element of that, I think, because the short break, because of the playoff campaign. On one hand, a lot of people were saying, how do you get over the disappointment of losing at Wembley? But equally, they haven't had that opportunity to lose that sharpness, that fitness as much as you would have done with the proper break of 12, 13 weeks. They had just the 10 weeks, 5 weeks off, and then the 5 weeks pre-season. Without the transfer business, obviously we lost Stocko and Anthony Stewart, and we knew that Bayer was leaving. But the rest of the squad, the nucleus of that squad is the same. They know each other. They know the systems well. They know their jobs and responsibilities. So technically they should hit the ground running, and they did that on Saturday. And hopefully they can continue to do that at Bolton. So it'll be interesting to see in about 5-6 weeks' time, when the teams that have done a lot of business, when they start to gel and when they start to find their rhythm, then you find it starts to get really interesting. But Wycombe at the moment, hopefully, can really make good strides in the early stages of this season.
And great to see the team in such a sort of controlling display as well. It was all kind of wrapped up within half an hour, and you imagine fans pretty pleased with what they've seen. You often hear that fans are frustrated at perhaps the lack of new signings or the lack of chips, or there's usually something, isn't there? But fantastic that they had such a display on the opening day.
Yeah, look, we're football fans. If we win the lottery, we'll find something to moan about, but it will ruin our life or something like that. But that's just the nature of it. And the mood around or coming into the game, especially on social media, it was worried about the goalkeeping situation, the lack of replacement of Anthony Stewart, and it was very doom and gloom online. But when the team news came out, that continued to an element. But that's why Wycombe made the perfect start, because half an hour in, it was quite jubilant. Let's see what happens on Saturday, because Bolton will be a really stern test. We'll see what happens.
As you touched on, really pleasing elements for Tyler to make his League One debut, and obviously Nick Freeman, who's someone you've been physically, literally quite close to of late in the commentary box. Great to see him get a warm welcome as well.
Yeah, Tyler, fantastic for him, and Gareth has already given the plaudits as well to the whole team as well, because clean sheets are not just a goalkeeper, but Tyler did everything that he needed to do, and he did it really well on Saturday. And we'll see what happens with him, but he's developing brilliantly under Lee Harrison's eye. And yeah, when Nick Freeman came on, I don't mind admitting there was a little tear in my eye, because we spent a lot of time together last season when he was on his recovery, and he kind of threw himself into the match day commentary role. So I got to know Nick really, really well. And I know the journey he's been on. I know how much hard work he's put in to get back into the physical fitness, but then also he's got to play himself into form in pre-season. He's been really, really in good form in pre-season to get in this match day squad, because it's difficult now. There's a big group of players here at Adams Park, and he's got his way back into that match day squad. So to see him get match day minutes on the opening day, and then to hear that reception that he got as well from the Wycombe fans was really heartwarming, and it shows you that he's really made a bond with those Wycombe fans. And I'm selfishly going to say, they're going to love him even more now because of the stuff he did in the commentary box.
It's really nice, isn't it? Because you feel you get to know a player when you hear them, chatting in that way to you and with you about their own sort of experience as well.
I think so, yeah, because footballers, when they get injured, it's quite a traumatic experience, especially if it's a long injury, because footballers is a short career. And, Nick's been out for 9 months, I think 11 months in total, but in terms of footballing action, he's lost 9 months of his career. And there's always a doubt, isn't there, if it's a serious injury. And that can take a huge mental strain on Nick and his family and everything else. And he's fought his way through that and got back. And I think as fans, sometimes we can see players being carried off, and then you may not see them again until on a match day for a long time. So yeah, I think it was good to kind of help track Nick's sort of recovery, speak to him every other week when he was doing the commentary, find out how he was getting on. And find out a bit more about him, the person as well. And he's a tremendous guy. He's very funny as well. But he was great on the commentary. But it was so wonderful, Colin, to see him cross the white line on Saturday and get that warm reception of the fans. And credit to the fans as well, because they really looked after Tyler in that first half on the terrace. They would have known it was his senior debut, his Football League debut, and they gave him a really warm reception as well, which would have helped him ease into the game.
No, really heartwarming. And as you touched on, I think the team can expect quite a different test on Saturday.
Yeah, Bolton Wanderers are in tremendous form. If you look at the last 22 games of last season, from sort of the middle of January onwards during that transfer window, 22 games in the league. They won 14 of them, drew, I think, 5 and only lost 3. To do my maths there, I hope I've got that right. Either way, they were in really good form. Had they not made such a slow start to the League One campaign, they'd have been a shoo-in for the playoffs. And Ian Everett, their manager, I think, was looking to continue that as well. I've had a look at that team that Wycombe beat early in January before they went on that big run. We won 2-0 back up there in January on Tuesday night. Jack Grimmer scored a great goal in that game. And 9 of the players involved that night were involved either in the starting 11 or came off the bench on the opening day of the season when they drew 1-1 at Ipswich last Saturday. So they are also a settled squad as well, and in really good form, as were Wycombe. So I think this is going to be a great game, and it's also going to be a really good barometer, not just for these two teams, but I think for the league in general, because here we've got 2 settled squads who are carrying on, hopefully, their really good form from last season. So I think it'll be a really good acid test to see what both of these teams are about and where the division's at as well.
And a first away day for yourself and, of course, the travelling fans. I'm sure you often enjoy going out to different grounds, but also finding out what various service stations can offer you as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, the services over the summer, I hope they've been restocking with some random stuff for me to go and find out. I like nothing more than stopping in the Midlands, probably the furthest point away from the coast in the country, and being able to buy a child's wetsuit. I think that's a great service that the services provide this country, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they've done over the summer.
You can never be too prepared, can you? I think that's what the message they're telling you.
Well, exactly. Wooden ducks were always a favourite. They've been a bit thin on the ground, I'm guessing, now with the war in Ukraine and other things, supply line issues that may have hit the wooden duck industry hard. But, I'm looking forward to the first away day, absolutely. And I'll be covering that on my Twitter if you're really keen to know what I'll be looking at.
Phil will be with us with a full match commentary, of course, on Wanderers TV and here at Wycombe Sound on Saturday. Great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Always a pleasure, Colin.
Great to chat to Phil, and of course the wooden duck industry is something that we'll be following throughout the season and seeing how that develops. Don't forget you can catch up with the full interviews with Gareth and David Wheeler on Wanderers TV as well.
Online, on Radio Player and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, Episode 2, Season 3, if you're counting. You'll probably not. We'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth, and we'll also be catching up with the boss of Wycombe Wanderers Women, Carl Simon, who have begun their pre-season training at their new home in Burnham this week, coincidentally after the England women's side won Euro 2022. But first, many thanks indeed to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, JDT and Alan Hutchinson, who this week have arranged for us to speak to a gentleman who started his playing career at the club in 1959. But, as you'll hear from Martin Priestley, his association with Wycombe Wanderers started before that.
We used to go and watch Wycombe Wanderers play, prior to the cup final against Bishop Auckland. We used to hang over behind the goal and kick the metal at Lokes Park. But I was at school with J.D. Taylor, who I think you've met. He's more or less the chap who runs the Ex-Players Association. And we were at school together at the grammar school, and for some reason we thought we were good enough for a trial. So we went to Lokes Park and knocked on Sid Can's door. You won't have remembered Sid Can, but he was a dour, miserable looking chap, and he just stood there and looked at us for about a minute and then said yes. So we had a few months training with some of our Cup final squad heroes. Wonderful.
What were the training sessions like?
Well, with Sid Can, they were very good. He had just the right level of fitness and skills and things. And he was always looking forward to who we were playing next and what their strengths were, what we might have to deal with, that sort of thing.
And as you mentioned, some of the names at the club at that time would have been, some fantastic names who, as you say, featured in that 57 final. Yes.
Well, my first game, some of them were just sort of getting towards the end of their careers, but my first game in 1959 against Maidstone reserves, I was surrounded by experience. Colin Bunting in goal, Barry Darville, Ken Crook, Dave Worley, Len's cousin, Jackie Tomlin, Derek Draffen, Mick Rockall, Peter James. I was only a youngster, and they sort of backed me up, helped me through, lots of encouragement. It was super.
What were your first impressions, if you like, of your time just starting out at the club?
Well, overawed. We had no television, of course. This was only 15 years after the war finished. So we had no television. We didn't have a paper regularly. So our heroes were sort of local people. Local cricketers, local footballers. We didn't see international games like you can so easily these days.
And it must have been fantastic as well to be, as you say, a local person yourself and playing for your local club.
Well, that's what it was like in those days, I think, because all the players I can think of, apart from Sammy, Keith Samuels, who came from Croydon way, all of them were in the sort of half an hour, all lived within half an hour of Wycombe. And so, you didn't have players travelling 50, 60, 100 miles and so on. They were all local lads, really, in those days.
And, of course, people might not know that you have the accolade of being the answer to a quiz question. The quiz question being, who was Wycombe Wanderers' first ever substitute?
Well, substitutes are different in those days. In fact, I think it came in about 66, 67. But, prior to that, we had cup finals, professional cup finals, the FA Cup, where a player got injured immediately, and the side had to play with 10 men. And if another player got injured, they had to limp their way through the game. And it spoiled the games, basically, not having the ability to change. But you couldn't just change like you do today, send 5 on. My first substitute for Wycombe was for John Maskell in goal, who clashed with a centre forward and had to have stitches. Fortunately, the hospital was just across the way, behind his goal, actually.
Very conveniently situated.
Yes, but he had to have the stitches put in and had to be approved that he was not fit to carry on before I came on. So it wasn't easy to get substitutes on the pitch. And there was only one substitute. But we won 4-1 anyway against Barking.
And you didn't go in goal yourself?
No, they put Keith Samuels, he was mad enough to go in goal, and willing.
Because people forget, obviously, the balls are much heavier in those days, and I think being in goal is quite a non-envious position to have been in. Absolutely, and it was a mucky, messy, heavy day.
So there was no ball technology in those days. They're like balloons now, but they were like cannonballs on a wet day.
And the keepers didn't even wear gloves either.
There were no sort of these great big mitts that goalkeepers wear these days. Dennis Sirritt used to wear a pair, I think his wife must have knitted them for him, woolen gloves. No, there was no football technology, Colin, in those days. No technology for balls, no technology for boots. I mean, the boots we wore were like medieval armour, made out of pigskin, solid toe caps. It was dreadful because there weren't many pitches. There were no coaches. Kids didn't get coached at school. I went to Criers Hill Junior School, and there were 4 lady teachers after the war, and there were no teams for under 6s, under 7s, under 8s like there are today, let alone teams for girls.
No, exactly. Look how far we've come.
Yes, in my lifetime.
No, exactly. Also, I've seen some fantastic photos of team photos of the time when you played as well. And, you talk about the boots, but also the kit as well. Obviously, very recognisable, the quarters, but obviously the shirts look quite heavy and the shorts, shorts, of course, are so big.
Yes, and when they got wet, they got lower and lower if the elastic wasn't too good. And, I was 6'4", and Barry Baker was 5'2", or whatever he was, and so you just had a shirt with your number on it, and that was it.
When your shorts falling down, especially on a sloping pitch.
Yes. Oh, yes, the sloping pitch.
So are there any particular games that especially stand out during your time at the club?
Well, I was only there for 59. So I was in the 5th form at school, and when I was 18, I went off to college. So I went to Borough Road Physical Education College in Ainsworth, a PE college in London, and for the next 3 years, I was only able to come back in holiday time, because in those days, PE colleges like Loughborough, St Luke's, Exeter, they all had huge reputations they wanted to enhance. So we had to play for college teams, midweek and on Saturdays. So from 18 till 22, that was my football life, really. But I was always welcome back during the holiday times, which was nice.
And really nice as well, obviously, that you're still in touch with many of the players that you played with at that time as well.
Well, when I spoke to you yesterday, because I've got some memorabilia here, I looked back through for the first game after we won the World Cup in 1966. I don't know who it was against, but I looked at the photograph, and I'd been to the funeral of Paul Bates, Charlie Gale, Ian Rundle, and the others who died were Peter Royston and Johnny Beck. But all the others in the picture, John Maskell, Vince Faulkner, Keith Samuels, Les Merrick, Barry Baker, Tony Horsman, Len Worley, Viv Budsby, I'm still in contact with all of them. We play golf, we meet at the games, the home games, and the ex-players arrange all sorts of activities, which is nice for us all to get together again.
It's so nice, isn't it? I think football's quite special like that you've had that sort of common bond and things that you've been through. You really can't imagine, sort of, I don't know, say, for example, accountants saying, 50, 60 years ago, we worked in this office, it was brilliant. That spreadsheet we did, it was fantastic. Do you remember those days?
No, there's not that sort of camaraderie, I don't think, anyway. I think you do get it in things like the army, well, certainly as well teaching. If you've been to a good school and there's a good group, you stay in touch. But really, it's the Ex-Players Association which reintroduced me to all these people who we sort of lost touch with while they were having families and paying for houses and all the rest of their careers. And we've sort of regrouped at the age of 65 plus. And as I say, I play golf twice a week with half a dozen of them.
What was that like? Because I think you were one of the founder members, weren't you, of the Ex-Players Association? Was it like kind of, we were never been away, and you just kind of, when you meet all your old teammates again, it's just like, do you remember? It must be fantastic to kind of reconnect like that.
Oh, yes. And I mean, the ribbing and teasing and everything is childish, really, but it's good fun. And we are getting towards second childhood after all. And those names I've mentioned, they're a really good group of lads, and Keith Searle as well. I didn't mention Keith. We have really good fun. We don't particularly take much care about the scoring or counting of shots. It's just a couple of days a week. It's a good day out.
And really special for you to be able to, as I say, really sort of tell and remember, sort of reflect on what you went through.
Oh yes, that happens all the time. In fact, my grandson came last week to golf because he's broken up for the holidays, and so he played with all these lads, and he had to sit down afterwards and listen to all their stories, many of which I've heard before, of course. But no, it's good. It's good.
Does it seem especially impressive as well when you see where the club is now?
Oh, I'm very, very proud of where. I have watched through the years as my family grew up and so on, but not as regularly as now, because the Ex-Players Association very generously are given a box at the game. So, as long as not too many have wanted tickets, it's possible to go and watch a few games in comfort, and you're next door to the manager's box. So there's very, very nice indeed. And now COVID's over, Vince Faulkner and Sammy bring players who are injured around the boxes, the executive boxes, and introduce them to everybody, which was nice as well. You could chat about old times.
It must be so nice to compare, what it was like in your day to what it's like for a modern player.
Oh yes, the poor lads have to listen to it.
And did you make it to Wembley as well?
Yes. Oh crikey! I took my grandsons, one of whom's in college in America, football scholarship, and it was his first time at Wembley. And my younger one, we enjoyed it tremendously. It's just a pity it was one of our worst displays.
No, definitely, but a fantastic day out and a brilliant achievement to have got that far, obviously. And
yes, and the football crowds at Wembley had bad press for a couple of years before this, but I have to say, that day with Sunderland and their supporters, my experience anyway, was fantastic. People sang, people cheered and clapped things we did. It was no problem at all. Just what you hope crowds would be like. And there was a big crowd there. They had 50-odd thousand. I think we only had 25,000.
But I guess extra sense of pride for you as well, having played for that team.
Yes. We never got anywhere near Wembley. but some of the other clubs I moved on to, and I did move on in the end, because when I finished college and became a teacher, PE teacher, my first job was in Finchley. I took over from a footballer called George Robb, actually, who played for Tottenham and England, and played in that Hungary match when we lost 6-3. Anyway, he moved on to another teaching job somewhere, and I took his job at Christ College, Finchley. And I tried to stay at Wycombe, but we didn't have. I didn't have a car. The school was a grammar school with Saturday morning fixtures evening fixtures, parents' evenings. It was difficult to get to training, to get to matches, to get to clubs. And after that first year, I moved on to a London club, which made it a lot easier, travel-wise. Travel was the main problem.
Of course. How do you look back generally, though, on your time at the club?
Oh, well, with great pride, and I'm so pleased that so many of us have stuck together and are pleased to see each other and will do anything at the drop of a hat to help you if you're stuck. So I can say that real good friends.
And really nice to say that you went on to have a successful career after your time at the club as well.
Yes, I went to 2 or 3 clubs. A couple of them associated with the college, because one of the lecturers, the PE lecturers, was also a football coach. He coached the England women's team, actually. And they weren't as successful as they are today. But he was coach at Hayes and at Southall, 2 clubs I went to. And but those clubs had nothing like the camaraderie or the aftercare that Wycombe Wanderers Club has provided for me anyway, and all my friends.
Really nice to speak to Martin Priestley, former defender for Wycombe Wanderers and the club's first ever substitute.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Wycombe Wanderers women start their season on the 4th of September. We'll hear from their new manager, Carl Simon, find out how the pre-season preparations are going, and also, of course, reflecting on the fantastic result for England in the Euro 2022 final on Sunday, beating Germany. Very exciting. After extra time, could have been in normal time, that would have helped me. But a great result for them, and we'll find out the impact that will have on local football as well. But first, regularly we hear from the manager, of course, Gareth Ainsworth, speaking to the media this morning at the training ground, looking ahead to the trip to Bolton Wanderers on Saturday in the first, of course, league game of the season. We'll get his thoughts on the women's result as well. But first, a bit of a recap on how things went on Saturday at Adams Park in the overall result and performance.
We're good when we have a plan. It's sometimes the chaos of football and fixtures and everything, it's really difficult. But we had a good 3 training days to work on what we wanted to do against Burton. Like I said, the boys nailed the plan, and it's nice to get off to a winning start. I don't think we let Burton. I don't think we let them get going at all, and that was real credit to the boys' fitness and like I say, medical teams and sports science teams got the boys in real tip-top shape, so I could ask them to do what I wanted them to do, and some great goals as well. It's often build this long ball set piece team, and that was some fantastic play around the box, and all 3 goals really great move, great pass for the first one, fantastic individual skill for the second one, and again cracking volley from Josh going after to some nice build-up play. So no, really pleased and looking forward to Saturday now, but I think it'll be a whole different test coming to Bolton.
I was going to say Bolton will provide so many different sort of threats for you, especially defensively, I guess. Yeah,
of course. That you look at the fancy teams this season, Bolton are up there. I think they're 4th or 5th fancied to go up. So they've had a real good form from way back, really, from the start of the year. They've had real good form. If you take it all into consideration, and Ian Everett's made some good signings as well. So we've got to make sure that we're on it. We've got a squad that's probably 85% fit. We've got 1 or 2 missing from injury, 1 or 2 big players as well. So again, we'll be up there with a strong squad ready to go and hopefully get the points away from the Reebok. But it's a big pitch up north there in the northwest, so it's with different challenges. I think we went off like a train, and definitely the fast twitch muscles and the sprint muscles and all that were working a treat. The boys looked energetic, looked powerful. So yeah, again, I credit the various teams on that. But it's going to be another barometer on Saturday. You might get away with the first game, but over a period of time, 6, 7, 8 games, we'll definitely know where we are and where we sit in that scheme of things. But we just got to approach this one in the right way. the boys are great at modern football and now takes on messages, watches videos and real looks at the technical detail of games. And my players do that. It's really good. And hoping that, again, once we put the plan in place for Saturday, they'll all know what they've got to do and we can scupper what Bolton want to do against us.
Is there much you're able to take from Tuesday night's friendly? Obviously, had a number of fringe players from the first team and trialists as well.
Yeah, difficult game really. The pitch and and having trialists in the game, almost we were almost like Burton. If I'm honest, 4 or 5 players that didn't really know the boys well enough, and it's going to take time for them to gel. So really difficult to judge and. A little bit disappointed, but obviously it was a trial game and 1 or 2 bright sparks. But you're going to get them now and again. It's all about the first team games for me, and we're going to make sure that we're competitive in those.
And as you mentioned, such a controlling display on Saturday, that must have sort of set things up really nicely for this week's preparation.
Yeah, it was. I almost took a foot off the gas a little bit and tried a few things second half, but. Burton had 1 or 2 opportunities as well, which we've looked at, and we've got to make sure that we're solid. Because no disrespect, but some of the bigger clubs in the league, will take their chances, and we've got to make sure that we don't do that. Bolton are a big team in this league, and we've got to make sure that we're definitely on it for Saturday because it's going to be a tough game.
And just finally, a quick reaction from the Lionesses result on Sunday. A fantastic advert, if you like, for women's football, and obviously with Wycombe Wanderers winning their season starting soon as well, it must be fantastic to have a women's sort of section for the club, and also for girls locally and women who are coming along to watch the games at Adams Park.
Absolutely. What a brilliant achievement it is, and our women's football has come on in the last few years is phenomenal. It's probably one of the fastest growing sports in the world, never mind this country, and having 2 daughters myself, it's great to see that the women's game is sold out, is around the world being screened, and some of the players really, becoming household names. So, all for it. It's a great sport, and the women have proved that they can pitch it amongst the best as well. I'm sure they'll be looking forward to the World Cup now, but it's a brilliant achievement, and congratulations to them all.
A real shot in the arm for women's football. And on Monday, just after the game, of course, on Sunday, we spoke to Carl Simon, who's the Wycombe Wanderers women's boss, to get his reaction.
Well, first of all, congratulations to the Lionesses. It was a wonderful achievement, which we all watched as a squad together down at Burnham FC's stadium. And I think, overall, for people like myself who have been involved in women's football for a number of years, it's nice to see other people appreciating the level of quality there is in the women's game and seeing it as a sport in its own right, rather than trying to compare it with the men's game. It was seen, I think, yesterday for the first time on its own terms, and that was a wonderful thing to see. And for the young girls who want to play football now, it's a real target to be a professional footballer, to play for England. As ourselves, as all young boys, we all want to play for England and play the FA Cup final. Now girls can say the same for themselves. So I think that's wonderful. And in terms of our players, it spiked the enthusiasm. We're really looking forward to a good training session tomorrow, because there's a lot more intensity to wanting to perform and to achieve the targets that we set out.
It was really interesting. I was saying that Katie Hudson's written a fantastic piece on the club website about how their achievements going to make them want to train harder. That must really please you as well.
Yeah, of course it does. And like I say, we've got our own group chat, and you can feel it amongst the players that they really want to, they want to do something now. They want to get themselves involved a bit more than maybe even before. And also on another note, I've had a lot of players contacting us today, wanting to get back involved, wanting to come out of retirement, all sorts of things. So it's been a real shot in the arm for women's football, I think.
And also, as you say, and you must notice as well in your coaching career, how people's perceptions of the standard of women's football has increased so much.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's the standard, and people always will look at the standard and they'd say, "Oh, well, they're not as good as the men," or the game's a little bit slower. But if you watched the game yesterday, the technique within the game, the tactics within the game, but the speed, athleticism of the players, it's top tier, and everyone can see that now, and that's because they've now, they've gone professional, WSL, and you're seeing
when women are given equal terms and when they're given the same facilities, what they can become or what they can achieve. So we just hope that filters a bit more down throughout football.
And locally, this does seem to have come at a really good time. It seems such an exciting time for Wycombe Wanderers women. Obviously, there's a new head coach, and also, you've been able to bring in some new signings, and that you've got your new base as well.
Yeah, it's all happening. We start training there for the first time tomorrow. So we've been training down at the Rye, but it feels like now we'll be at our facility tomorrow, and pre-season really starts in earnest. So yeah, it's a really exciting time, to be fair, and we just want to get the 4 weeks done, do some really good work, and then looking forward to the season starting on September the 4th. And
you've had some friendlies already. What have been your initial thoughts on how the group's doing?
Well, at the moment we've been working with mixed squads, apart from one game where we did have the majority of first team players, and that's due to a variety of things. I came in at a certain time, players had booked holidays away and things like that, and obviously with COVID, people hadn't been away for quite a few years, so everyone was quite keen to get away. So I've come in and I've whacked in a full pre-season schedule, but obviously people have already made commitments, so we've had to deal with that, but it's given an opportunity to other players, so players from the under-18s and players from the reserve squads to feature for the first team for the first time. So lots and lots of debuts, and it's been, an eye-opener for some. But like I say, we played at Maidenhead yesterday. We lost the game 4-0, but they're a National League team, Tier 4, and it's quite appropriate that for our first game at our new home ground we played a Tier 4 team, because that's where we want to be. That's what we want to aspire to. So the players can see it now, and we can work towards that.
And does it feel like the team's in a real transition period, obviously, because you want to stamp your way of playing on them and also bring in some fresh ideas and fresh names as well?
That's definitely exactly what's happening. It does take time. You have to do it in the right way, and you have to respect what's there before us. So it's not a case of coming in and ripping everything up, but we're trying to. So we've introduced training twice a week. We've moved facilities. And obviously within that we've assessed the squads and we assessed the needs. We played there are certain games against top tier opposition, so we know what level we need to be at. And part of that is bringing in players who have played at that level. Another part is allowing the players that we have the room to develop to that standard as well.
So what would you say to any players, or indeed just young girls generally, who might be keen to be involved in Wycombe Wanderers women in the future, given what they've seen on a national level?
Look, get yourself involved, and if you're interested in football, you're ambitious, Wycombe Wanderers is here for you. That's what we're after. We're looking for ambitious players who want to take part, who want to help drive the club forward. We're always looking for players like that. So if you're really interested, we do have adverts running on social media. Get in touch, and we'll get you down to the training ground.
And a great opportunity for people locally to back the team as well, come along to the games at your new home.
Yeah, we had a decent crowd yesterday, which was nice, and we're picking up support. We're looking for more people in the local community to come and support us. We really do need that. It does help. The really good games are being played down at the stadium's great facilities. So yeah, the more people that can come and support us, the better.
That's Carl Simon, the Wycombe Wanderers women's boss, newly appointed head of the new season as well, and we'll be speaking to and covering more of the Chair Girls as the season goes on. We're due to be chatting to Cara, the vice captain, currently on holiday. That's on a future edition of the show, possibly even next week. Also coming up next week, we'll chat to Nigel Kingston, who's the chairman of the Wycombe Wanderers Trust as well. Very much looking forward to speaking to him. Don't forget, live commentary from the game at the Reebok against Bolton Wanderers with Phil, live on Wycombe Sound and on Wanderers TV, of course. Our match build-up from 2 this weekend on Saturday, due to it being an away game. Kick-off, of course, is at 3. We'll have post-match reaction and analysis as well. Lots to look forward to. If you missed this show, if you're listening to this show and you've missed it, that's probably not the case, but it's available. There's a podcast version wherever you get your podcasts from. It's on the Wycombe Sound radio player page on YouTube as well, and you can also catch us on the Listen Again feature on the website wycombesound.org.uk. Many thanks for listening. Join us next week if you can.